Welcome to 1+1. I'm Kurt Fearnley. Sakakibara's love for BMX racing started at a young age, spurred on by her brother Kai. We caught up to talk about triumph, tragedy, and Tokyo 2020.
Agony in Tokyo on the BMX track, Australian champion Sakakibara was in the lead and heading to the finals when she crashed.
Sakakibara, welcome to 1+1.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
The last time I saw you on TV, it was at the Olympic Games, straight after the crash. It was, I saw you getting carried across in a stretcher. It was terrifying. How are you? Are you recovered?
Yes, I've recovered. When I crashed at the Olympic Games, I had a concussion, so I was knocked out on site, but I remembered everything. And I've had a history of concussion before, but never to this extent where my symptoms would carry on for months on end. It was just so stressful that the fogginess in my head, headaches and the fatigue and things like that. It was important for me to put health first and make sure that my head is completely healed.
And it is?
Yes, it's completely healed, which is great. Concussion's completely healed, and making sure that I'm putting health first, mental health first, then just taking a break and then get back into it for 2022.
What makes you get back on the bike after a crash like that at the Games? What drives you to get back on?
There's just no question. It's just wanting more. Most of the time I crash, it's when I freak out, I hesitate, or I, don't do something correctly like I normally do, and that's when crashes happen. And those are the times when you're hey, I could have done that better. I could have easily avoided that crash, so let's go try it again. But with this time, it was something out of my control. It was someone else that we collided together, and that's just what BMX is. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. You could be the fastest person there and not win. But that's just what makes BMX so unique. And when you actually win, you defeated all the odds and what could have happened to you, and you cross the line first. That's just when that victory is that much sweeter. So, I just love BMX. And
why? What do you love about it?
I don't know.
Look, if someone asked me...
why do you like a marathon?
I don't know. Look, but I do. There's something out there when you run on instinct for such a long period of time, and you've got to know the course, and you've got to know the athletes, and there's something in there that you feel perfect at it, and that's almost addictive. Once you feel it once, you've got to feel it a second time.
Yeah, it's like a flow state. You feel connected with your saddle or your bike, and this is just coming so naturally. And it's just a feeling that you can't really explain, can you?
No, but once you feel it, I know you always want to try and feel it again.
Yes.
Did you always have a love for it?
No, I hated it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I think so. I started BMX because of my brother Kai. So he's 3 years older, and for him, BMX was his absolute everything. He loved competition, he loved racing, he loved bikes, and he just fell in love with it straight away. And for me, I started when I was 4, so 3 years after he started in Japan, and And I think, I don't remember this, but my parents said that I went to my first race, crashed 3 times on the first jump, cried, and then like went home. Didn't touch my bike for like 2 months. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like me. But yeah, I don't know what brought me back. It must have just been like little sister wanting to be like my older brother. He loved riding his bike, and his probably passion kind of influenced me to kind of get back on the bike. And I probably felt a little bit like FOMO, maybe. Like I'm missing out on something. So
be like the older brother or beat the older brother?
I think it was more be like, because I don't think I had that kind of competitiveness as a young girl.
Tell me about growing up in Japan.
I was born in Australia, and when I was 2 years old, my parents' visas ran out of Australia because my dad is English and my mum is Japanese. So they were like, okay, should we go to England or Japan? And they were like, yeah, let's go to Japan. I'm so glad that they did. With all the food and Japanese culture, I just absolutely love it. And yeah, I was just a typical Japanese kid. I was speaking fluent Japanese at the time, but then my dad would try to speak English to me, but then I'll reply in Japanese. And I think I just remember just being normal Japanese kid, enjoying school, enjoying preschool at the time, and then 1 year of primary school. And yeah.
Tell me about BMX culture in Japan.
In Japan, there's so many people. Like, it's such a population dense country, but within that, there's only about 300 riders in Japan. But if I compare that to Australia, we have like 15,000 members.
You've got 300 per suburb.
Yeah, exactly. It's just insane, and I didn't really know that obviously when I was living in Japan. But we were circling the Japanese national circuit, doing races on the weekends, and I was competing against maybe like 5 other girls, and we were like combined age, so there really wasn't that many girls to race against. But when we moved back to Australia in 2007, I was 8 years old, and we were just culture shocked by the BMX community here. Everyone grows up on BMX bikes. Like everyone gets, came up BMX bikes for Christmas or whatever, mongoose or whatever. And yeah, you just go out in the bush like making dirt jumps or things like that. And Kai absolutely loved that, and he made friends at school that did that all the time, and I kind of like tagged along as well because I didn't want to miss out. And yeah, we were just so taken back by, that BMX or like that bike riding culture.
When did you get the bug? When did it become yours?
I honestly don't think I got the bug until like when I was 17 or 16. So it was when I went up into the junior elite class, and that's when things get serious. Most of the races, like, they count towards Olympic qualification and things like that. And yeah, the first race that I did was in Nerang in Queensland, the Gold Coast, and that's usually like the first race of the year. It's like hot, and it's just such a vibe. It's such a cool event. But yeah, I won that. I was 17 and racing against 18-year-olds. I was like, wow, I beat all these people. And I continued to literally just win that whole season in Australia. And I was like, wow, maybe I am good, and maybe I can put in a bit more effort to, just push myself more and be more accountable and responsible for, my riding. And I think that was like the turning point for me. Yeah, I just started taking it a little bit more serious. And I knew that Kai would always say that he wanted to make a career out of BMX. Like, he wanted to, go to the Olympics, and he wanted to do all these kind of things. And I was just like, yeah, I'll go to the Olympics, I guess. No, I wasn't saying it. No, I was more like, yeah, like doing BMX could be cool, but maybe I want to be a dentist or a flight attendant, or I don't know. I really didn't know what to do. But I think that moment in the Gold Coast that year was, yeah, definitely a turning point where I was like, okay, I am good and I can actually make something out of this.
So for the next 3 years, you would travel the world. You'd race at lots of different internationals and World Cups, and you were competing with your brother. How was that?
Traveling the world and things like that started in 2018. So the year straight after I finished year 12. And again, that was heavily influenced by Kai, because I saw him graduate year 12 and he just went straight into professional BMX racing. He was traveling the world, doing the World Cups, and when I turned elite, which was in 2018, I was able to join him. Well, we spent a lot of time together on the plane and traveling, and we made a really good team because he was such a perfectionist and just like so detailed, so like this, you know what I mean? And I was more like, yeah, we'll get the job done. Like if it's raining, it's all right. We'll just do it tomorrow. We can miss a session type thing. So we kind of balanced each other out. When Kai was being like a bit too like obsessive, I'd be like, hey, it's all right. Just calm down. We can find another way to do it. Or if I was being, you know, a bit too lazy, like he would give me a little push. So we kind of balanced each other out. We had a really good team dynamic, and that just worked really well for us on the road.
We are heading to Holland, where we'll base ourselves pretty much for the next 3 months.
You know, having like a familiar face at such a high pressure events is so, you know, comforting, and we were kind of really different, so that made it really interesting.
Tell me, in February of 2020,
Yeah.
at a World Cup in Bathurst, what would happen to Kai?
Yeah, so in February 2020, he had a huge accident at the World Cup. And to give context, so that was an Olympic year, obviously, and these were the last kind of rounds to kind of qualify ourselves onto the Olympic team. So for that weekend in Bathurst, it was definitely high pressure for both of us, but more so for Kai, because we had a race the weekend before in Shepparton, and I did quite well. I got second and a fourth, and I was really happy with that. But for him, he kind of got a little bit too like in his head that it was like a home World Cup for the first time in 11 years or something. We've never had a World Cup in Australia for that long. And he was out there to prove something to himself and to obviously qualify or get a good result to qualify himself for the Olympic Games this time. And that week was horrible. It was just raining, windy, Bathurst. It was quite a dangerous environment for racing. But, you know, if you can imagine, like Kai was like, hey, this is my chance to prove myself. And usually with BMX, when there's, you know, uncertainty of whether the race is going to go ahead or not, if it does go ahead, it counts. The results count back to whatever racing has been done. So if there was like one race done, the result of the day would literally go off whatever you got that in that race. So in his first race, he was coming second, and he's like, "Oh crap! Like I'm gonna have to make this move to make sure I win, because you don't know what's gonna happen." And yeah, unfortunately, he just was trying that extra little bit harder that he would just made a silly mistake, and he had a huge crash into the second corner. And usually I don't watch Kai's races ever, because it's just too much. Like I hate watching people that I care about race. But that particular time I actually looked up at the big screen because it was there, and I watched his race and I watched him crash, and then as soon as I watched it I was like, that's bad. That was a really bad one. And at the time, I think I was just trying to block that out of my way, because I knew that I needed to race too, and I was trying to focus on my process and stuff. So I obviously didn't even think about how severe that injury or that accident was. The next day, I got the call from my dad saying, hey, you should come down to Canberra, where he was airlifted to hospital because he's going to go into surgery and we don't know what's going to happen. When I got to Canberra, that's when I was like, holy shit, this is this is really bad, and we could actually lose him here. And it was definitely, that's when it hit.
How did you cope with that? Because Kai was in a coma for 8 weeks.
I don't know how I coped with it, to be honest. Like, in hindsight, it's just insane how we kind of kept our cool. And I think it was just more so, we just had hope, and that's all we had, because the doctors really couldn't say anything. I remember the first time I saw him after his surgery, and he looked horrible. Like, he had like swollen face, swollen head, obviously using a ventilator to help him breathe. And I was like, crap, like, oh my God. But what's kind of stuck by me that whole time was when my mum was like, no, it's not over for Kai yet. It is not, like, this is not it for Kai. Those words from my mum literally just stuck by me that whole time, and through every milestone that he got to straight after that was just like, yeah, reaffirming that, yeah, it's not over, it's not over. And those milestones was like opening his eyes, moving his hand, breathing by himself, and then it's just like, we were just so focused on those little milestones that we never really kind of stood back to see the whole picture. And when he first got into the Liverpool brain injury unit, when that was, how long was that? That must have been like almost 2 months after his crash. He lost 20 kilos of his body weight and he couldn't talk. The physio session of the day was trying to sit up for 3 minutes. And then I was there with my phone, like go and say, go Kai, you can do it. Like, I was just so focused, like, wow, he can sit up for 3 minutes today. He could only do that like for 1 minute yesterday. But then I was thinking that, but then I was like, I never thought like, wow, he can only sit up for 3 minutes. Like, it never kind of clicked in my brain. We were just so focused on those positive things that he was able to do. He was just improving at such an exponential rate. Yeah, for me, it was hard. It was hard because now, you know, we used to do absolutely everything together. We would train together, travel together. When we weren't training or traveling, we were doing nothing together. So literally just like losing, you know, someone to do that with was a huge adjustment. And as soon as he crashed, I was like, oh, if he's not going to the Olympics, then I am. And at the time, Olympics were still going ahead. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to do it. Like, it's going to be for the both of us now. And I literally just put everything into my training.
3, 2, 1, go.
After his accident, it's actually weird because from then until now, I've seen a huge shift in like my personality and the way I like view training, the way I view BMX, because I feel like I'm more like obsessive, more detailed. I've literally, like, our roles have swapped. Like, I feel like I'm sometimes too obsessive now. And I'm like, what is wrong with me?
And he's telling you to relax.
Yeah, literally. And it's just like so weird. And I saw that within myself, and I think it's more so when I think about it, it's like when, like, before I had someone to look up to that was doing everything perfect and I could just like kind of trail along in his shadow type thing. But now that I didn't have that, I didn't have anyone to lean on. It was just all about me, and I had like more responsibility, and it just pushed me to be more responsible for my own training and my own results. I kind of took that on full force and just wanted to get it done. And yeah, it was really cool seeing that shift in myself. And yeah, I really, it's just funny. It's so funny just seeing so many of the traits that I saw in Kai that I thought was like too obsessive or, you know, being too serious about BMX, and I see in myself now. And yeah, it's just really interesting how the brain works in that way.
Can you tell us about the moment that you qualified for the Olympic team?
It was amazing.
Where were you?
I was at home and I was eating my breakfast. And yeah, I got the call saying, yeah, just officially, notifying me that I qualified for the games. And it's just like, wow, I did it. Like, it's just like a huge relief, I guess. The coolest day was when we got the Qantas tickets. That was such a cool day. And just looking down, and it says my name and it says to the Tokyo Olympic Games 2020. It's just like, wow. Like, I just couldn't wipe the smile off my face, and I was just like, this is insane. Like, this has been my dream since I was 8, and I can't believe I'm going to be an Olympian. Like, this is insane.
How was the moment telling your mum, dad and Kai?
I called them up, and I called Kai up actually, and my mum was there with him, and I was like, hey, look at this. And then they were just like so stoked, and they were just happy for me, but it was almost bittersweet because it was like, hey, this was my dream as well as Kai's, and it just didn't feel like completely right that I'm going without him. And yeah, because I always think about how it was his dream as well to go to the Olympics, and how hard it must have been to see, obviously go through a life-changing accident, going through this intense recovery, to then seeing someone like me who is so close to him, his little sister, like living his dream that he wanted. And yeah, I just felt, just had that moment of like, oh, it could have been so amazing if we both had this ticket, and imagine how amazing that would have felt. But, it's just more so, I was just happy that he was there to share the moment with, and I was able to pick up that phone and call him and show him the ticket rather than him not being here at all. So I was just so grateful for that.
So to the racing in Tokyo. I was watching your semi-final.
Yeah.
And the rounds. But talk me through that semi.
So for day 2, it was such a weird day because it's just like when I woke up that morning, I was like, before I go to sleep today, there's going to be a gold medalist and a silver medalist and a bronze medalist. I could be one of those people. Like, this is insane. This is the day. But I felt absolutely crap. I was so tired. My body was aching and I was freaking out because I had a great sleep, but my body wasn't there. And I called my psychologist saying, hey, like, my body feels crap. What am I going to do? Like, I can't do this. Like, I was making sure I was drinking heaps, and I'm like, well, I've done everything that I could. And she's like, you don't have to feel good to perform well. And I was like, okay, thank you. And I went about my day. And obviously I had a bit more confidence coming into these races. As soon as the gate dropped on the first race, all that tiredness and all those negative thoughts about not feeling great went away, and I was just so focused on just getting the lap done. And the first race was a little bit messy. I got caught up with another American girl and ended up 4th, which was fine. Like, that was okay. And the second race was absolutely so much better. And that was that flow state that I was talking about. It's just like going through the motions. I know how to get through this track now, and I felt good. I felt one with the bike. Then on the third one, it was much similar, but yeah, on that third straight, there was another American girl who, yeah, just bumped into me in the air and took us both out. And I remember, obviously, in the air, getting hit and just being like, no, why? Don't do this to me, no. Because yeah, at that point, you're just so like helpless. Like, you can't do anything. Once you get hit in the air, it's very little chance that you can kind of adjust yourself. And I remember just waking up in the medical tent and just looking at my arm, seeing it ripped, and just being like, don't tell me. No. Please tell me this is a dream. Like, I was just like this. No. And the Australian doctor was there with all the medical staff. And I remember saying, do I still qualify? Like, did I make it through the final? And then he was like, no. Because, yeah, I knew that I was concussed, so I knew that I wasn't going to be fit to race anyway. But, you know, it was still like so hard to know that I didn't qualify, and it was over.
How did your family cope during that crash? Because I'm not going to lie, I didn't cope very well.
I don't think I realised at the time the impact I had on those people, like especially my parents, especially Kai. And it wasn't until literally the next day I was doing an interview, and on the screen they kept replaying my crash, and then my mum, Kai, and my grandma's reaction to it, and then the expression on their faces, I don't want to see that. Like, they were just so scared, and I hate that I like put them through that. But, you know, it's just, yeah, I guess it's just part of it, and I hate that I put them through that, but also I am okay, so it's okay for now.
How do you feel about Tokyo now, that experience, the games?
I definitely feel like it was obviously a huge disappointment, and there's something about, you know, the effort and the training and how you felt so good on the day. And when I was in that flow state, I felt like I could medal. Like, that's when I actually believed, like, oh, maybe I am good and maybe I can have a shot at this medal today. And to go from feeling like that to actually not, and almost the fact that I couldn't get there was almost like out of my control. Like, I collided with another rider, and it wasn't really my error that, you know, that blocked me from the goal that I really wanted to achieve. Like, that was a really hard concept to accept as well. And I realised that feeling like the victim was even worse. Like, I hated the fact that it wasn't my error. But now I think, you know, I learnt so much from there. Like, I think more so just the lead up into Olympic Games, how much I applied myself into my training, and also that I felt so honoured to be wearing that Australian jersey on that day, representing Kai, representing my family, representing Australia, representing BMX, and showing the world what BMX is. You know, for me, Tokyo wasn't going to be the end, and now my focus is next year, and now my focus is 2024, and just the longevity of my career, and just seeing what I can do. And I know that this experience is going to help me get on and step up on that top step one day.
Do you think we could see Kai in the Paralympics?
I think it's definitely possible to see Kai in the Paralympics. That would be amazing. And he still has that drive. He is so dedicated to his rehab, and he could easily apply that to whatever he wants to do after. And whether that's Paralympics or whether that's anything else, like, I know that he's just gonna step up his game and just be obsessive and be a bit like crazy in the way he was with BMX with that. And I think he's gonna do great, whatever he chooses to do.
I can't wait to see where you go. I've never been more nervous in a sport watching you race, but I love it.
Yes.
So I can't wait to see where you take it, and thanks for joining me on 1+1.
Thanks so much, Kurt.